jump over to the Mellisphera website. Just jump up to Hive 1. So sort of when you start out, you can put a picture in, and then each hive can be tagged to it. All your sensors can be tagged to it. So these are our 4 large hives, and these are the ones with BroodMinder sensors. These are the nukes. These are really just our resource hives to help bolster the actual production hives. This can be changed, and this color usually is a quick indication if the hives are healthy or not. They can be green, yellow, or orange. And then if I explore, go into the first hive, you can see a lot more information at once. So this is just the brood level. And again, this is when I took the sensors out to put the hive wrappers on them. So that bit of data is inaccurate. But if I would have left the sensors in there, that would have been accurate. But it shows that quite a bit of brood in here. And it shows about the estimated percentage, and it really starts to taper off here in October. And a lot of this is based on all that hard data I was showing you, but this is a really quick graphic way to see what's going on. And then this shows if there's, so the weight exceeded 220 pounds. So that was before our harvest, and then it can tell when you removed a super, and then if there's a hive tool next to it, that's something I added manually. So that shows me that's when I removed the sensor, and that's why we had that issue there. And there's a few other things that it shows you in there, but this quickly shows you, if you look at this, see how it's trending down, you can see what the weather was like, but you can also look at the high temperatures, and then you can hover over them to see what they actually are, but graphically you can see that it was pretty warm on this day, and then it must have gotten colder. And then this is the actual external low temperatures. So see, it started cooling down, and that's when they started slowing down their brood rearing. This is that cold week in October. I'm going to go ahead and jump forward. Oh, interesting. I guess I never really tried to look at it much beyond that. I don't think I'll be able to show you much more than 2 months at a time, maybe 3. Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, there we go. And then you can kind of see it was cold out here. And then we had those really cold days, but there was still brood in there. You can look at how humid it was outside, and you can compare that to your internal humidity. You can look at wind speed. This is pretty interesting to see. If you're mating queens, you can look back and see if they may have been any issues where it was really windy. That day it was 22. Some of these days were slower. And then you can also check the actual precipitation amounts to see, again, if the queens may have gotten mated or not. But it says we got 1.9 inches of rain that day, and then there's just a trace amount on that day. I'll just go back to the weather here. So again, that was the brood level. This is productivity. This is really more of if the scales are showing that they're gaining weight or losing weight. Sometimes there's just a little fluctuation. If it's within a couple pounds, I'd kind of ignore that. You look at the overall trend about a month to see if they're really losing weight here in the winter. But in the summertime, I mean, this will all be green. When there's a flow, they'll all be large gains. And then this is hive health. Sometimes if the weight has dropped, and this is when I took that sensor out, it kind of threw some stuff off. Most of the time, these are always green unless there's a serious issue. And then the internal temperature max, you can see it was pretty hot. This is telling us that it was 87 degrees outside. Inside, it was 94. You see some of these colder days, it was 44 inside. And it was 19 as the high that day, so kind of corresponds to that. And that's the high temperatures. Here's your low temperatures. So it's only 41 in the hive. That was the lowest this hive got. But you can see this information for everything. You can also look at the moon cycles. Not sure how that would relate to everything, but I'm sure there's a theory on how it could relate. And then let's jump into Hive 2 real quick and just at a glance, kind of overviewed everything and just showing how things are tapering down. Go back through the year a little bit. Maybe that'll be helpful. Again, that's when we took the sensor out, I believe. Yeah, I removed this sensor. Yeah, so it says it's been detected dead. That's because the sensor was not in there. So we got it back in there, and then I think we had an overlap. So, and everything's green. So March again is when we split the hive. So that's why that decreased there. And you can go back to last winter when it was pretty warm last year, but you can also see it got pretty humid inside. But you can see the weather from years ago and sort of see how your year went. Let's go do let's Hive 3 again. This is Hive 3. Similar. The brood level was, I think this is one that I treated with Apivar around this time. But the brood does taper down, so this was the last one that I treated with Apivar. So it was probably my weakest hive, and weight-wise it shows. And just looking back earlier in the year, that's when that hive started. Hive 4 was added later in the year, so hasn't been around long, but it was started with a nuke, so it's pretty strong when we got it going. But again, it only had a few months before it started tapering down, but it seems to be doing pretty well. But all this stuff it's free. If you get the BroodMinder app, if you get the BroodMinder sensors, they can connect to this app. They connect to that My BroodMinder app as well. And as long as you upload the information, it tracks it. And this is pretty neat to see at a glance, kind of looking back. Now, you don't have a lot of prediction. It does tell you ahead of time. We get an email that says that it's going to rain in a couple days, but anybody that looks at the weather is going to be able to see that. But it's interesting to look back and see if something happened to the hive, when it may have happened, and if it's something that I did or something that I could correct. That's all I got for Mellisphera.